Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Talking Cafe. Today, I'm joined by Matthew from Adviza, National Career Service. We're going to be discussing how to have the confidence to apply for jobs, the current job market, and other techniques and skills which will help with the transition into a new career. I'll just introduce Matthew onto the stream. Hello, Matthew.
Good morning, everybody. Oh, I got, sorry, position myself correctly. There we go. We're in. Perfect.
Lovely. If you could just tell us about Adviza, who you are and what you do.
Of course. So my name's Matthew. I'm an area manager for Adviza in the Southwest. So predominantly I look after Somerset, Devon, Cornwall, parts of Dorset, a little bit of Bristol. What we do is we deliver the National Career Service contract, which is a contract that's out there to help people who are looking to improve their current work situation, engage in new employment, people that are looking to train in new skills, education, people that are looking to improve. So currently you could be an entry-level role and you're looking to aspire to become a senior. So yeah, loosely, those are all the sorts of things that we can help you with on your journey, basically.
That's great. So starting from the beginning, so school leavers, uni leavers, what skills can you put in place and advice for people that are starting, getting into work for the first time?
So at the moment, the National Career Service can work with people from the age of 13. So they can engage with us and put together plans for their education even. It doesn't have to be a career. One of the big factors for people is making decisions. And once they've identified the job they want to do, it sometimes can be very difficult to understand what actual qualification you need to do that job. So at an early age, 13, you can engage with our website and deal with our contact centre. And what they'll do is they'll help you negate the education process and, identifying what education is important, what experience is important for you to go out and get the job that you want. Then for 18-year-olds, 18 plus, so any age, there's no upper limit, no lower limit, it's 18 plus. They can come to us and talk to us about their current situation. We can look at what education they've achieved. We can look at their aspirations, what they want to do, what their long-term goals are, what their short-term goals are. And then we can introduce them to all of the various opportunities that there are out there. A lot of people overlook apprenticeships at the moment because they think they're just for young people and they're not very well paid. I can show you apprenticeships. Well, I could show you, prior to COVID. A lot of this is gone, but it will return, don't worry. Apprenticeships are going to be very important coming out of COVID. We have opportunities where you can go to Iceland and be a trainee manager and start on £22,000 a year. And then when you complete that apprenticeship, you immediately go to £28,000 a year and you get given your own store. So, the whole adage of it was for carpenters looking to work on building sites to do apprenticeships, it really isn't the case anymore. And I looked at demographics back along for a couple of years ago, and the average age in the highest demographics, so the most sign-ups of a particular age group were over 40s.
That's amazing. Like you said, I think people automatically think apprenticeships are the low level, the sort of odd job people when it's not really a full career, when that's not the case at all. And I guess, like you said, apprenticeships are extremely important. It's something that's going to come back onto the scene as soon as it can, really. And which obviously leads to courses, because a lot of things now are home-based anyway, aren't they? Most courses are home-based. Apprenticeships are on the job learning, and you don't, because I remember when I did an apprentice at 16 and I had to go to college 2 days a week and this, and I was here, there and everywhere. And now I've noticed things are a lot different. A lot of things are home-based.
Yeah, so there's been lots of changes in apprenticeships. In 2017, the government introduced a levy, which meant that anybody whose PAYE was over 1.5 million, so it's quite a lot of money, they then automatically had to pay into a training fund. So it's almost as though the government said everybody should be doing training, and this is how we're going to kind of incentivize it. Really, you put in a little bit of money and we'll top it up. So what actually happened because of that move, employers said to the government, well, if we're going to be paying for this, we need to know that the apprenticeships fit our sector and our company and our ethos. So actually, over the last few years, apprenticeships have moved from frameworks to standards, and those standards were set by the employers. So it's actually done a full circle where you always used to go to college and university. Now you can get level 7 apprenticeships, which is degree level, and you have all of that experience whilst you're doing the training, so that when you get your qualification and you go to apply for jobs, when they say, what experience have you got? Well, you don't have to say, oh, I've been in college for the last 4 years. Now you can say, well, I've been working with a trained professional who spent the last 25 years doing this job. I've got no better experience, you know? So it really has changed. But I think the problem is awareness doesn't change with it. And, you know, there are loads of opportunities. There's loads of possibilities for any age, for any sector, for you to start again if you want to. That's the purpose of an apprenticeship. You don't have to say, oh, but I don't know anything about that. That is an apprentice.
And that was one of my questions I actually had for you was, I'd say a big challenge of starting a new career or, you know, a job title in something you've never done before is that fear of, will I even be considered with my lack of experience? And I think it's really great because this type of way, you're starting from scratch and you're learning all these new skills. You're getting the one-to-one, you're getting the experience, you're getting the, you know, the certificate side of things where you're actually doing the courses and the admin, as you say, side of everything as well. So that's amazing.
Yeah, and I think there's loads more opportunities out there because of COVID at the moment. So where all of the training used to be paid for, you know, I'll give you one example, HGV driving. I've seen that being offered for free at the moment, you know, and that's normally a £2,000, £3,000 course. And when you're a HGV driver, you can earn £30,000 a year, you know, so it's sometimes training can be a frustration for people because often people do training that they didn't need to do.
Yeah.
And then it just that everlasting memory of it was just this big annoying thing that they had. So, you know, making sure you're doing the right training is really important, and making sure that it's attached to the job you want to achieve is really important. So, you know, you have to be careful that you're training in the right areas. Going back to what you were saying, if I use my experiences, which is probably the best way to do this, I'm a qualified carpenter. I then spent 8 years managing an estate agent. I then went and worked in digital media, selling advertising space online. I then moved to Babcock and went for infrastructure and apprenticeships through their engineering department. And then I came over to Adviza as a careers advisor when I first started. So
that's a lot of good experience when you've had so many various different roles. You've got such a good little background behind you to say, you know, it's easy to go from one to the other.
Okay.
I was similar. I was an accounts assistant after I left school for 6 years. Then I also worked in the Morrison's cash office. So it was all very money orientated. And I want to do a bit more. So I went straight into learning disabilities as a support worker. I've never worked in that sector at all. And the training on the job, I guess it wasn't an apprenticeship, it was very much set out like one, with the amount of on the job learning and courses that we did to keep up to date with legislations. And it was amazing. And it makes you just feel so comfortable hopping from one to another. Because I think when you leave, when you think about what do I want to do, you can sometimes get your mind set on a set career path. And then once you do it, you think, I work towards this, but it's just really not for me. And then you just want to go on to something else. So it's a really great way to, and the Careers Advisor, your website is the great one-stop shop for all this advice. If you're just starting off, if you're wanting to change, if you're looking for a new career, if you're looking for a temporary fix, it's just a really great one-stop shop.
I think there's something on there for everybody, and I must say, you know, not everybody's confident to approach somebody about something they don't feel that they're very good at. You know, so having all of those means of contact is a really good way for people to softly approach us if they wish to. But then we've also got, you know, some slightly more in-depth ways of looking after people. So perhaps that's a good opportunity for me to talk a bit more about that. So the kind of loosest way that you could contact us without having any registration process or handing over any real information is the web chat. So you can raise questions with us. It has limitations. You know, if you want to ask something quite simply like, what qualification do I need to be a nurse? You can just ping that over to us. We'll answer it. We'll send you back everything you need. Then we have the sort of more in-depth channels. So we can do telephone conversations where you can have an hour long with us. We can go through everything. We can talk to you about the whole process from start to finish. We have email contact where you can just ping in an email, and if it's something that can be loosely answered, we will. If it takes more time or more in depth, then we put that in an email and send it back to you. Prior to COVID, we were doing face-to-face where you could come and sit down and spend an hour with us talking about your situation, looking at all the resources that we have and what we can provide you. So we've got something for everybody. If you don't want to engage with a person, if you want to look for the advice yourself, our website's very functional. There's 3 sections. You know, you're not going to get confused about where you need to go or what you need to do. To simply break down the website for you, it has job profiles, which gives you every piece of information on a job you could ever need to know. So if you're making a choice from moving from, say, retail into care, you can go onto the job profiles, look up care assistant. It will tell you what qualifications you need. Can you just directly apply with no qualifications? Is there an apprenticeship route? So it'll tell you how to become a carer, what experience might be useful, what skills you can use from your previous roles that will show you be a good carer. It will tell you the wages on an entry level, right up to fully experienced care home managers, care home owners. So it will give you the salary expectations. It will tell you the working hours, the days of the week that you have to work, the specific jobs that you'll do on a day-to-day basis, and then lastly, the skills that you need to do it. So it's really informative. Then the other section is about skills. So for the people that don't know what job they want to do, we have these things called a skills health check. There's a short one that takes about 10 minutes, and then at the end of it, it will give you lots of transferable skills that you have, and then it will give you 5 job suggestions that you could apply those skills to immediately. There's a more in-depth skills health check. Now that one's about 3 hours long, so you're in for the long haul if you do that one. And then the other sections are just about advice and help. You know, if you want some tips on how to write your CV, if you'd like some resources on how to answer interview questions, all really important stuff. And essential viewing, really, especially as lots of people find themselves in redundancies at the moment or a position of consultation. And I must stress that a lot of my jobs that I've left and gone to have been because of redundancy. So when I left as a manager of an estate agent, it was because they shut the doors. And I just want to, before I forget anyway, sometimes redundancy can be the best thing that happens to you. A lot of the time I had been working for somebody for 6 years. My wages hadn't kept in line with everybody else's because I've been committed to one employer. So actually being forced into that position, looking at what resources were available at the time to me, and then being able to train in a different sector, was massive, and I have only got redundancy to thank for that. And I could probably still be sat in those businesses earning less than I should have been, So sometimes I appreciate, I'm not trying to make a good light on a bad thing, but sometimes being put in those positions makes you make choices you wouldn't have before.
I think when you've been somewhere a little while, you feel safe, so you'll let yourself down on skills that you really want to do or other opportunities, because you think, well, I don't want to take a stab in the dark when I know that I've got my feet set firmly in the ground and I'm safe. So sometimes, like you said, when you're forced with that situation, it does open your eyes up and think, well, now I can really go into something that I might prefer to do, or try something completely different, and it might completely change my life. And that's why I feel grateful for stepping into the support working sector. I was there for nearly 3 years, and although I created an amazing bond with the people I supported, it wasn't for me. It was quite a high stress role, and I'm not saying that for all support roles. So if you're looking in that, don't be put off. It was just my situation, where we were and staffing and things like that. So it was, and then I just thought, well, I still love people. I still love providing a service. I'm very caring. I'm very empathetic. I've got a good knowledge of what people need from a support plan. So then I went into jobs like this where I'm still offering that support, but I'm signposting it. And I still get to speak to people every day, and I absolutely love that. And everybody's different, and what everybody needs is different. So I think jumping into something new when things don't work out is really great, and it's a really good opportunity to find what does fit for you.
And it's such a great feeling when you do actually find something that you're passionate about. You don't feel like you're working anymore, do you? And I know that's a bit cliched, but I was very much the same. I was working on a construction site, and as lovely as it was and the freedom it gave you, I don't like the cold.
No.
And when I was working in a estate agency, again, great, because you get out in your local community and you see people, but sales is it's a very personalized thing. I think you're either good for sales or you're not. There's no in between. So yeah, my motivation was then to move into a job where I feel like I was helping somebody and giving back a little bit. And as soon as I did that, and as soon as I started helping people, the rewards I got from it far outweighed, any of the other jobs or any commission that I'd earned previously. You can go on the holidays and have fun, but being happy and enjoying what you're doing, you can't really value, can you? So, it's this COVID situation is an opportunity for everybody to really reassess where they are, take stock, look at all of these wonderful opportunities. Anybody who had gaps on their CVs, well, COVID's a perfect answer for you now.
Yeah.
Why haven't you worked for such a long? Oh, COVID struck, and I've had frustrations. But what I have been doing during COVID is, and if you can show people you're training, and if you can show people you're trying, and you're enthused by,
I think it's trying to find the positive twist on a negative situation sometimes. Like,
right.
Yes, I've lost my job, or I've been furloughed, but in that meantime, I've now found an interest in this, and I find out I'm good at it, or I've been offering support in my local communities. I find that's a big one, and we've seen this a lot with the communities coming together at the moment, and a lot of people aren't working, and they're willingly giving their time to go off, and they're volunteering, they're doing shopping. And it's whilst they're doing that, they're picking up skills they don't even realize they're picking up, the person-centered side of stuff. So that's really great. So going back to then the support side of things, and I find as well, when it comes to CVs, that's actually a difficult question. What skills do you have? And I find so your skills support that you give would be amazing, because there's a lot of skills that you would do. Say I was an admin for the first 6 years, and I didn't realize that a lot of those skills, customer service, were actually transferable when I was going into a completely different career and being then a support worker. And I didn't really think, oh well, I answer the phones and I give support, but I didn't put that on my CV because I didn't think it would really link in to the support I give. And then as you sit there, look back and you think, well, no, I work in tough situations. I can deal with complaints. I've got a great telephone manner. I gel with, customers. And I'm thinking, actually, that did fit. And it would have been a big highlight to put over to that new job.
It's really important that you say that, especially in the current climate. The thing with CVs is that they're like this little mini advertisement that if you don't get right, people won't read. And you can't sell your personality to somebody from a piece of paper.
No.
So if you get your CV wrong, you can miss out on opportunities, and that's why we're here. We're of the opinion that you should never send the same CV twice, because no two employers are the same. I always use kind of Aldi and Marks and Spencers as an example. They're both supermarkets. They both sell to the public. You drive up and park and walk in at the same at them both. However, if you sent a CV to both of them, one would love it, one would hate it. At Aldi, they're about speed, efficiency. You don't pack your bags at the till. You put all your shopping back in the trolley and move it out the way because they want to get somebody else's money through the till. Marks and Spencers, you ask somebody where the grapes are and you get a personal shopper for the rest of the day. Yeah, because they're about experience. Did you enjoy spending your time at Marks and Spencers today? So if one CV says you're fast and efficient, Aldi will love it. If one CV says you value customer care and the customer experience and that, shopping should be a day out, not a chore, then Marks and Spencers will love you. But you couldn't send them both the same CV. And if you did, you probably wouldn't get a job interview with either.
No, it's about adapting to what they're looking for. So it's always good, I guess, to have the same type of template for your CV, so you're not deleting the whole thing, but just adapting it once the job comes up that you're interested in, adapting it to what they're actually looking for. And I think it's important because it makes it look as if you've read the job description, you've read the requirements. I think when you don't acknowledge them at all, it's a bit like, are you just having a shot in the dark and just chucking in a CV and hoping for the best, or do you actually want this role?
Definitely. It's very important to understand your employer, because their ethos is, when you go for a job interview, they've looked at your CV, they know your education, they know your work history. All they're really finding out is who you are, and if you're going to fit in with the rest of the team, and if you've got the skills that match their business. So, adapting your CV to reflect what they're looking for is the least you should do to your CV. Keep the template, keep the structure the same, but the skills that you highlight, your previous experience, and who you are as a person should be different every time you apply for a job. And that way you will make sure you have the best opportunity of getting that interview. And at the interview, that's where you're going to sell yourself. That's where you can make the most impact. But if you don't get that interview, if you didn't do this process, but 5 other people did, you're missing out before you've even got to the door. So, it's really important that you take the time to think about what you're putting in your CV and almost be the employer. Is that important to them? Is that relevant? If they want me to be quick and efficient, they're not going to want to know about me taking my time to make decisions. You can still take your time to make decisions, just don't write it in your CV.
Yeah.
You just say, I'm methodical in my approach and I look at all of the possible outcomes before making a decision. You're saying the same thing, just using different words.
Is this something that you assist with then? Can people say, I'm looking at this, and this is my current CV, what help and advice can you give me on this? And can you review and give pointers? And when it comes to the interview side, what skills do you help people gain in preparation for an interview? And do you help with, a mock interview type of thing and cover questions that might come up? Because the questions I find in every interview which throws me, and yet I've still never really been prepared, are, you know, explain a situation where you've had to think on your feet, and how did you overcome it? And then it makes you sit there and think, well, I don't know what example I can give relative to this role. And you sit there for a few minutes, and I still, to this day, it still throws me no matter how prepared I am. So I think interview support would be fantastic. And I'm really, I really wish I knew about you in my experience, because I think preparing for an interview is when you really judge yourself the most, because you know that somebody you've never met and they're professional people are going to be sat there around a table talking to you and breaking you down to little pieces of what you are made up of, really. So
definitely. So as far as CVs are concerned, it's probably 90% of what we do. Okay, because I'll give you some examples. There's some staff that have been made redundant from Debenhams after working there for 15 years. They haven't written a CV in 15 years. They don't want somebody to tell them how to do their job, or, you know, they just really want someone to have a look at their CV and say, oh no, don't put that on there, or yeah, that's great, keep including more like this. Our aim is to give you the tools to be able to do this for yourself. And we go through analogies and we look at ways for you to remember how to do stuff. So in the first instance, we review it with you, we make the changes, we help you adapt it, but we give you the skills to make sure you can keep doing it for yourself going forward. As far as interviews are concerned, well, I mean, how many times did you do a Zoom interview prior to COVID?
Never.
And what's worse is sometimes you have to do group Zoom interviews, you know, so just preparing yourself for the technology is really important. And I think preparation is probably the key word. Nobody can tell you what questions an employer is going to ask you, but we can give you an idea of what an employer would want to find out from an interview. Yeah, so if you're going to do a competency-based interview, clearly the employer wants to know about your work history and your experiences. And so we can help you manage that, and we can give you some techniques to answer questions to make sure that you don't miss anything out. With general interviews, there's a series of questions that probably get asked at every interview. You do need to be prepared for some odd ones. I've been asked to describe myself as a biscuit before in an interview. You know, I've been asked to sell a biro in an interview before, and I can promise you nobody is interested in the answer to those questions, but what they are interested in is seeing how you deal with being put in that position. All right, so again, there are hidden agendas to things you've been asked at interviews. What's really important to do is understand the employer that you're applying for the job for, because when you know what's important to them, you can pretty much guess what they're going to ask you. They're going to want to know more about you. I've never been to an interview where the employer hasn't asked me to talk about myself. I don't think I've been to an interview where an employer hasn't asked me to talk about a weakness that I might have. I haven't been to an interview where the employer hasn't asked me what I know about their business. So already there's 3 questions that you can plan for, you can be prepared for, so that when you get asked some of those other questions that are perhaps a little bit unusual, you don't feel set back by them because you're doing so well already. Body language.
Oh, we've got a question from Claire quickly. She said, can you recommend a great CV template to update her personal CV?
Wow, what I would recommend is that you get in contact with the National Career Service, book a CV review appointment with us, and we'll provide you with the new template, which is adaptable on Word, so that you don't have to worry about any of that. All you have to think about is the content. Again, there are lots of websites out there, but typically when it comes to CVs, people will charge you. So you just have to be careful. You know, there's lots of options out there. As far as templates are concerned, I can talk to you about the structure of a CV, and I would always start with my personal information at the top, then a personal profile about who I am and what I'm good at and what I enjoy. Then you have your work experience, your key skills, and then finish with your education and references on request. if your CV is more than 2 pages, I would seriously consider rewriting it. But employers don't want war and peace. Oh, fire alarm.
Bear with me just a second.
There you go. Look, I'll talk through it.
It's not an emergency. I think my partner's making toast. Oh, it stopped. No, it's fine.
What happens when you let us make toast? No, never a good idea. So yeah, sorry. As far as a CV template is concerned, yes, that's something that we can do for you. Come and have a chat. We'll space it all out. We'll tell you. You know, a lot of people don't know that you only go back 15 years in your employment. If you go back more than that, it's not terribly relevant anymore. If you think Facebook didn't exist 15 years ago, or is it 14 years? Yeah. So how the world has changed since then, you know, most of our jobs are becoming supported by computers, and so the way we do things changes. If you look at mechanics, they used to get a toolbox out to fix a car. What they do now is plug it into a laptop, you know, so they had to learn how to be mechanics again when that was introduced. So everything changes quickly at the moment. There's lots of updates, there's lots of changes. So moving from one sector to another can be quite easy, because everybody's learning all the time to do things a new way. Loads of opportunities. You just got to take advantage. And CVs, if you only speak to the National Careers Service for one thing, get your CV checked for us, because I promise you, you'll get more interviews afterwards.
That's brilliant. And once you're in a role and you've been there a long time, you said you can help people develop more skills. How could you help somebody approach an employer to say, I feel like I could do a bit more, or I really fancy, you know, taking on some courses or additional learning? Because even though the role might not be there right then, an opening could come up in a year's time, and you want to be prepared for that. How could you help somebody approach?
So one thing we do quite well is labour market information. So if you're thinking about perhaps looking at more senior positions, what we can do is we can identify how much opportunity for that there is in the sector. So it's like, so for example, if you came to me and you said, I'm going to be a plumber, you know, how many plumbers are there in your area? Is it a competitive market? Will you find it really difficult to get work? Are you better off being employed by one of the other companies in your area? You know, so there's lots of things that you need to look at, and especially when you're looking internally, understanding the employer and what makes a senior member of staff for them, or what makes a level 3 member of staff or a level 4 member of staff, is important to identify, and then the individual can work towards those. So say, for example, there isn't any opportunity to be a team leader, but at the moment you can do a team leading course online for free. So you do that education in your own time. You show an employer how committed you are to being a team leader by using your own time to train. And then, you know, when the opportunity arises, you can go to your employer and say, this is the position I'm in now. These are the skills I have. And, you know, hopefully the employer will utilize those. There's no better way to employ somebody than from within. You know, that person already has their ethos. They already work how that company wants them to work. So yeah, it's all about positioning yourself and giving yourself the tools to make you look like the right candidate. So again, it's about setting goals. It's about having an action plan. It's about setting yourself a benchmark and saying, this is what I want to achieve, and these are the steps that I need to take to help me to achieve it. And I think sometimes just having that person put that plan together with you and actually saying, right, this is the website you need to go for this bit. Here is where you get funding for this bit. And don't pay for that qualification, because if it's a level 3, you can have it funded for free under, you know. So it's about us helping you reinforce your decisions with accurate and factual information, so that you don't waste your time. And if your employer doesn't want you in that senior role afterwards, well, then you've done enough to be able to apply with different employers and get the job or take a vacancy with somebody else to keep you going, because your career is about you, isn't it, at the end of the day? I know your employer pays your wage and you have to do your job, but ultimately, your well-being, your financial income, your holidays, the time you spend with your family, it all derives from your job, doesn't it? You can't go on those holidays if you can't pay for them. So why not do a job you enjoy? Why not do a job where there are prospects, where you can, be ambitious, and you'll feel the better for it, because progress for us is essential, isn't it? For us all to feel like we're going somewhere, like we're achieving something.
Definitely.
And a lot of people don't realise the skills they've got. And that's why a redundancy can be good for some people, because it forces you to make a decision you didn't before. And often you find yourself in a better position than you were before, with more income or more opportunities, or just even a better employer that has your interests at heart. So we're in depressing times, but a lot of positives can come from it if you look in the right places. And that's why I would always suggest MCS. It's fully funded. The government has already paid for us to have this service. So it's 12 months. Once you contact us and have your hour, you then have 12 months with us, and we can help you remotely. And if your barriers change, so you weren't getting the interviews because your CV wasn't doing its work for you, you're getting the interviews now, but you're still not getting the job. So we need to look at your interview technique. So it's all progressive. It's, we can't fix everything in a day, but we definitely can't fix anything if you don't approach us.
Amazing. I really think, getting your word out there that you are available for this help is extremely important, especially at times like at the moment. So, everybody is getting affected. A lot of people on furlough, and even that uncertainty of furlough, it's like, I'm okay for now, but what about in a few months' time? Which quite a few of my friends are in that situation at the moment, and they're having to adapt to. And I find at the moment as well, people are starting to lose their person-centered skills. They're spending a lot of time at home. They've had a massive pay cut. They've got very low mood, and they're losing the skills to interact with other people. And I think that's a really important thing to try and pick back up on. And even if you can do that with a little bit of advice, or take on a course that can take up some of your time, and whilst it's taking up some time, you're gaining new qualifications while doing it. So I know that your company's obviously had to adapt to COVID, and you've got one-to-one and you've got webinars. And could you talk a little bit about your webinars and what you cover and how people can access them?
Yeah, of course. So we carry out a number of webinars based on a whole host of different topics, from job searching to CV writing to identifying skills. I think the whole world has changed because of COVID, and I don't think we're going to go back to the way we were either. A lot of the Zoom stuff has cut out a lot of travel. It's cut out a lot of time wasting. It's much more efficient. So I think a lot of what we're doing now is here to stay. And certainly the National Career Service had to adapt quite quickly, because with job centres closing and no physical presence on the high street, those people that could just wander in off the street and explain their circumstances and get that kind of immediate advice and a bit of sympathy in some respects, because we understand that you're not the only person in this position, and you won't be the last either. So we can really help people in that respect. So we've had to do online delivery, we've had to do webinars, we've had to move to telephone communications for a lot of what we do, and it's an immediate response, though. That's the beauty of it, is somebody can contact us and be speaking to a careers advisor in hours. So it has helped that way. But like everything, there are frustrations. Being able to sit down and show somebody how to use a tool on the internet, you can't value that, and unfortunately that element's gone. So there are frustrations, but the service is still here 100%. We're still open the same hours before, delivering the same high quality advice, guidance, passing on our tips, sharing our knowledge. So yes, we have had to change and we've had to adapt. and it's just the way it's got to be, isn't it? Really, I think that's the main thing. The one thing we did notice though is there were lots of people that didn't use our service because they had social anxieties, or they don't like meeting up in busy places, or they felt embarrassed about their barrier sometimes. Lots of people are really proud, never go to a job centre when they lose their job, straight down to the local shop, get a newspaper, what's in the back of the papers, what's on the internet. Those people need our service too, but because they won't go DWP, or they won't go job centre or local authority, they never end up at our door, and it's sad because they deserve the service too. Definitely. So even during COVID, we are 100% up and running, ready to help and look after people where possible. The biggest change is the online provision, the amount of courses. Take advantage of this furlough that you're on. Do a course, start a course. If you don't like it, you've wasted an hour of your time at home. If you love it, you could forge a career for the next 20 years. So there's loads on the National Career Service for short courses, for coding, for adult care, for employability skills, for logistics. There's so much stuff out there. Really make the most of your furlough and get as much as you can done.
Brilliant, that's great. So we nearly run out of time. The one thing I did want to touch base on was the local job market at the moment. What's still available, what's to look out for and consider a career change into?
Okay, so I think care makes up the largest part of that. Another one is green energies. So the government's put out an incentive where people can have massive discounts on new boilers and double glazed windows. So there's this whole retrofit program being run at the moment where we're speaking to the green energy. I think Happy Energy is one of them, and they say if you do this training, we'll employ everybody that does it. They can't get enough employees at the moment. So it's about watching the market, really, looking at what the government incentivise. If they say there's £50 million for everybody to replace double glazing, well, someone for the next 2, 3, 5 years is going to have to fit all this double glazing, So it's about looking at the market, understanding what's in front of you. But again, we do all of this. The difficulty is that what could be a growth sector in Cornwall might not be in Somerset, and might not be in Dorset, and potentially could be in Bristol. So on an individual basis, again, speak to the NCS. We'll tell you what is a future career in your sector. We have these things called boot camps, where employers can identify a gap in the market, and then you can do these boot camps whether you're employed or not. There's lots for welders at the moment. I think there must be a shortage of welders. So you can do this 12-week course at which you come out the end a qualified welder, and then you're guaranteed a job interview with a welding company. So you can be employed, you can get some free welding training, you then get an interview with potential career for long term. And if you don't, you've still got the qualification, you've still got your job, because you can do it if you're unemployed. So all I'm saying is there's so many options. There's, it's never been like this before. You could literally walk in a care assistant and walk out a welder in 3 months. So nothing's off the table at the moment. This really is everybody's opportunity to just take advantage of the situation. And if they want to, make some changes. And the welding is just one of many. There's loads of digital infrastructure engineering, health and social care typically. It's there. Take advantage, make the change, and prosper for it. That's why we're here. But you need to speak to us, because, like I said, everyone's an individual, and what's good advice for one person is not for another. So take the time. It's free, never any cost attached. Even the telephone number is free for you to make the first call. I really do implore people to get in contact, take advantage of this service that's already been paid for, and hopefully come out better off for it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me today and explaining what the National Career Service do and who you are. And it's absolutely fantastic. And I'm hoping that everybody watching, if they're in the position where this is applicable to them, they're going to come to you. So it's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Worst case scenario, it will cost you 40 minutes of your time. I don't think that's a bad investment, is it? So.
It's not. You watch programs on TV that waste the time more than that. So.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Lovely. That's great. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody who's watching along. Thank you for your questions. And hello and goodbye to everybody who's watching back later. Lovely. Take care and speak to you again soon.
Yeah. I hope we get to speak to you all soon. All the best. Bye.
Thank you.